Hey everybody, hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Tom if you hadn't been here before. Today's kind of a special day for me, well probably for you all. I'm not going to talk about composting today. So anyway, today it's about, well, it's kind of about this right here, right behind me here. It's about water, and it's about the well house. So I thought it'd be helpful, or maybe some people out there would like to see a few things that maybe I've done already since we've been out here a couple years. And one of the things, and absolute #1 priority, along with food, but this one was priority #1. When I bought the property, this is what I had, and I remedied that because I wanted to have a little bit more security and assurance. #1, seasonally, that it wasn't going to freeze up on me. And I'm going to take you over and show you the new well house that became priority #1 when I bought this property out here, this homestead. So that's what I'm going to do. Sit right there. If you hadn't done so already, you can subscribe if you want to. If you want to be notified about anything that I come on here and share with people, you might want to hit that notification bell. But the only thing that I really care about, more importantly than anything, is not your subscription or you being notified and stuff like that, is that if you see anything or hear anything that's beneficial or might be edifying to someone else, just do me a favor and just share that information with other people. And somehow, some way, through your social media, or just share it directly yourself. You don't have to lead them here. If you'd like to, just send them a link to the video or to the channel. You're more than welcome to do that. But please just share the information if you think it might be beneficial or edifying to someone else. The only way that can happen is through you guys. I don't have any social media whatsoever. Anyhow, I'm going to quit yakking my jaws. Let's go take a look, and I'll show you what I set up to replace the old well house cover that has now been turned into a cat house. Anybody that knows me that happens to be watching this video, they've known all my life I'm not a cat person, and they may be questioning and wondering why I would go through such measures for a cat. But we'll cover that another time. Let's go take a look at the new well house. So this is what we got, and let me show you again. This is what we purchased, what was here when we bought the property. This obviously wasn't going to work for me, given the way I prioritize things and my mindset, and trying to do what I can to provide for my family and myself. Yes, myself, because I'm no good to my family if I don't take care of myself. So this is just as important to me as it is to my family and us as a whole. So that's why you see the building that you see behind me today. Let's take a look. So anyway, you know, the pictures you saw of what we had when we purchased this property, and what you see now, and it becoming a priority because #1, it's dealing with water. Remember, I said, you know, I focus on food, water, and shelter. It's our needs of life that sustain us, not necessarily our wants and pleasures. So anyway, I'm not going to get into that kind of conversation here. So my primary focus was on the water, the availability of the water, and having redundancy in obtaining that water. This well house is not going to be all-inclusive in that plan of redundancy. So anyway, I'm on grid and I have an electric well pump. My well is about 215 feet deep. My electric pump is set at 190 feet or 195 feet. So I thought about some redundancies in my electrical pump. Well, I have the electrical grid, which I'm on. If that goes down, I do have solar system that can run a 3/4 horse pump set at 190 feet. I have that as a backup. And on top of that, it can be run by the generator as a backup. So there's kind of a redundancy just for the electrical pump with grid power, solar power, and the generator. But I know, and I don't know if some of you folks understand this, all three of those can go. And all three of them can be ineffective or useless all at once. We know the electrical grid does have some problems. Or it could be just something as simple as economical. I'm going to stay on grid, or I'm going to at least have that power available to me here at the property as long as it's available and as long as I can reasonably afford it. You know, if it skyrockets or something, then it might as well have some sort of natural or man-made EMP wipe out the grid, because if I can't afford it, it's the same. It's not there for me. So it has its problems. It has its vulnerabilities. Now, I have a backup for solar system. But I'm not in total control of that solar system or the benefits or the effectiveness of that solar system. But the solar system has got some of the same vulnerabilities to it as the electrical grid system, and then some. The solar panels can fail. Inverter can fail. The charge controller can fail. The battery bank can fail. And then you take all the parts and pieces and assemblies, components rather, in each individual assembly, especially with the charge controller or inverter. I mean, it could be something as simple as a diode, maybe a circuit board or a part of a circuit board, and the whole system could be useless. So there's a lot of vulnerabilities to having a solar system. And for people that want to put all their faith in a solar system, even though I have one, man, you're taking a big risk there, okay? Because it has more vulnerabilities to it than the electrical grid system, or as much. Well, then we have a generator backup. Well, again, man-made, mechanical. There's pieces, parts, components, sub-assemblies that make up that whole assembly we call a generator, okay? And any one of those components or sub-assemblies that fail within that generator, it's just a big paperweight as well. On top of that, you got to make sure you have the fuel to run that generator. And if you stock up on fuel, now you got to think about the shelf life of that type of fuel. And then the availability of that fuel or cost, you know, the economic cost, which ties into the availability of that fuel, all play a big role in the reliability and the dependability that we place upon each one of these things. Electrical grid, solar system, windmills, I don't have, or generator. All of them can go. So I wanted to back all that up with something that was, again, it's mechanical and it can have some failures to it, but it is probably the most reliable piece of equipment that I have. This hand pump, this water well hand pump, which, by the way, is a simple pump. And just in the name of itself, being simple, it has less components, less parts, no electronics, no nothing, you know, required for it to operate. It just requires me and the availability of the water to function in the way that I want it to, in order to have that elixir of life called water down below the ground. I have 3 forms or power sources available to me for running my electrical pump. If the pump's down for whatever reason, then I wanted to back that up with a hand pump in this well house. So that's what I did. This was number 1 reason why this well house is built and why it's built to the size it is. I'm going to move on from here and talk about my pressure tank. That's another key component as to why this well house is as big as it is, because it's a 120-gallon pressure tank that stands quite tall, if you can't tell. So I needed some headroom. And it just fits because I need the headroom to be able to come in here and operate this pump outside the rain or any inclement weather and provide a little environmental protection, I guess, from the elements to my pump. It doesn't hurt to put it under shelter. I figure I'll just get a little bit more life out of it. If the grid's down, the solar's down, generator's down, or no fuel to run that generator, and we are left with our hand pump, then we're talking about pumping water into containers, like a 5-gallon bucket, which a lot of people do. You know, a lot of people don't realize that there is a good part of the world's population still today walk on average about 3 miles a day every single day to retrieve 5 to 6 gallons of water for them and their family every single day. I've been in countries like that. I've served in countries like that. Walk on average 3 miles a day every single day to retrieve 5 or 6 gallons of water just to sustain life and get by day to day. That's how bad things can be. But anyway, with that thought process in my mind, you know, I didn't want just a hand pump here and pump it into 5-gallon buckets, because water weighs something like 8.2, 8.3 pounds per gallon. So you fill up one 5-gallon bucket, you're looking at about 40 plus pounds. You fill up another 5-gallon bucket, because I find it easier to carry 2 5-gallon buckets of water than I do to one, because it balances me out, you know, and you ain't, struggling. But now we're talking 80 plus pounds of water if you got 10 gallons, right? That can be cumbersome. So I'm pumping water in 5-gallon buckets, and then what? Well, now we got to take it to where we need it. So it's not about just pumping the water. Energy is being exhumed. And then now you got to think about the energy it takes to carry 80 pounds, somewhere between 40 and 80 pounds, to deliver it wherever you need it on your property. That was my thinking here. So I tied it into the system. And that's another reason why I wanted this 120-gallon pressure tank. Just because you have a pressure tank that says 120 gallons, that doesn't mean it holds that much water. And that's with any pressure tank. As you've seen, I had a 19-gallon pressure tank that was on this well to begin with. That holds about 4.5 to 5.5 gallons of water. It was something like that, maybe up to 6. About 4.5 to 5.5 gallons of water on a 19-gallon pressure tank. So I wanted a little bit more storage capacity. That's one. That was the primary reason for having this pressure tank, is because it can store 47, 48 gallons of water. And this is tied into the system with these valves here and the way I plumbed it, and a lot of people will do this. And the reason I wanted to do that is because I can pump, which I have to pump anyway to get the water out of the ground. But as opposed to pumping into 5-gallon bucket containers or something of that sort, and then consuming more energy and carrying that water to wherever it's going to be needed, I could cut that down and reduce the energy required for me to get the water needed out of the ground by pumping it directly into my pressure tank. And that's the way I set this up. The pressure tank does the carrying for me. It delivers the water to the cabin. It delivers the water to the yard hydrant. You know, I don't have to carry that 8.2.3 pounds per gallon of water every single day. It seems like it's a lot put into a well house, and it is. But I need water. We need water to live, survive, and thrive. It takes us about 350 strokes on this simple pump to fill my tank up, or to get it up to, I think it was like 55, 57 psi. And now I got 45 gallons of water, we'll say, under pressure turn the valve on in the cabin, out the yard hydrant, works just like it does on the grid. It just pushes the water. Still going to be conscientious of water consumption, you know, in that kind of situation, but it eliminates us having to carry 5-gallon buckets of water 200, 300 feet in one direction, you know, 80 to 100 feet in another direction, and then wherever I need water for any other animals that we bring onto the property. So that's it. That's one thing that's not composting that I have worked on when we got out here. This was priority number one. I mean, it was on top of the list. So I just cleaned up what was here. I repurposed the old well house cover, or the well cover, and poured me a pad, got the building built. That's how I went about doing it. Trying to build some redundancy in here. So I feel pretty good. I feel pretty good on water security. Nothing is foolproof, okay? None of it is. If this is all inoperable, you know, all of it, then all I have left is my water storage and my rainwater collection. Because you got to have water, folks. So I hope you got something out of it. It gives you an idea of one of the things that we started working on when we bought the place. And I'm going to try to do this. I'm going to try to show some things that we've already done and that we didn't videotape or whatnot. I think we got some pictures, and I'll try to share those with you so you can get a better idea of kind of where we're at, not geographically by location, but where we are in our buildup of our homestead or our property and our livelihood, and taking more responsibility for ourselves, for our well-being. Hope you got something out of it. Please share, like, subscribe if you want to, but share, share, share. And have a good day, and may all your branches become full of fruit. Hooah!